So, today's lesson is on percents. We are learning how to change percents to decimals and fractions and back and forth. Our main target is, can I change a percent to a decimal or fraction? We eventually will be working on using percents with numbers, things like finding taxes and tips and things like that. The start out of this notes for today is to write a ratio and percent to represent the shaded part. Now, we know that percent means out of 100. We know the percent sign, looks like that, it equals 100. So, basically that is why there's 100 boxes right here. So if they want us to write a ratio of this model, one second. Okay. How many boxes are shaded in? 24. So, our percent is 24 out of 100. That is our ratio, which equals, this is our ratio, which equals 24%. Now, so far we're not going to simplify it. We're going to just leave it the way it is. Okay? And that's representing the shaded part. Now, the next part, we're going to model the percent and write it as a ratio. So this time, super easy, they want us to shade in 36%. So, 36% would be 3 tens. Plus 6. Okay, doesn't matter what side, good question. As long as you have 36, okay. Now, if I write it as a ratio, the key is the word ratio there, so we're going to do 36 out of 100, and this time we're going to go ahead and simplify. The simplifying, we would divide the top and the bottom by 4, which would equal 9/25.
We have to simplify every time?
Yes. Okay. Here is what I want to show you though. On a calculator, a fraction can be simplified pretty easily. When you have your calculator, if you've never worked with this button before, you're going to want to type in the numerator, 36, hit this ABC button. ABC means a fraction. Then hit 100, and then hit equals. That is showing you the simplified version of that fraction, 9/25. Now, if you're going to have to be careful. If it's improper and things like that, we'll talk about that in a second. Yes?
Okay, so on the, if we doing the worksheet, then it's going to ask, do we have to, have the part, divided by and all that, or can we just put...
Oh, no. You can go straight from this to that. And listen, I don't care if you do it with what I call your brain, or now we get to use calculators. So I'm trying to kind of show you both ways. Okay? The next part. This is where I want to show you some different things with the calculator. It says, write a percent as a fraction or mixed number. Now, personally, if I'm doing it using my head, I know that 18% means 18 out of 100. Now, I realize that is the fraction that they're looking for. So the only thing I have to do is simplify it. Now, I can do the simplifying in my head and divide by 2, and I can do it in my head, or I could do 18. ABC 100 equals 9/50. So it's kind of a way to double check your math also. Okay? And that is our fraction in simplest form. Okay?
314% out of 1,000?
Not exactly. Here's the key to this. Any percent is out of 100 if it's a whole number. So what that means is, this is 314 out of 100.
Oh, I was talking about the next one.
So, you have to divide it out. Now, I already know 100 will go into 300 3 times, and there'll be 14 out of 100. Now, here's the key to this. It simplifies again to 7/50ths. Now, playing with the calculator. Here we go. You would do 314 ABC 100. Hit the equals. I need you to see this. This is that mixed number. This is my handwriting. This is the way it will look. 3 and 7/50ths. There's a little space or a little U between the whole number and the fraction. So it works both ways. You should be able to do it in your head and then check it with a calculator, is our goal with the whole calculator thing. Okay, is everybody good so far? Okay. The last one. This is a weird one because you don't even have a whole. What you have to do first on this one, if there's a decimal involved with a percent, bring it back 2 times. We're going to have to move it over twice. And I want you to think about that number. What place value is that 8 in?
Hundreds.
Thousands. So, what that means is 8 over 1,000. That is what that means. Now, we need to simplify it. 8 ABC 1,000 equals 1 over 125.
Wait, how do you do that?
Okay.
The decimal or the 8?
125. Okay. Move the decimal twice to the left to change it to a decimal first. Then take your decimal and read it like you would. I mean, if you were to read .008 correctly, you should be saying 8 thousandths. The way you read it with the place value chart tells you how to write the fraction. And then, yeah, because that's in the thousands column, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. And then simplify it. Okay? Everybody good so far? Okay. The last little part. Now we're going to be changing a percent to a decimal. Changing a percent to a decimal, super easy. Honestly, you probably already know. What do we do with it? Which way? To the... I want you to think about it. What do you want this to be? 5,400 or 0.54? 0.54. We're going to move it twice to the left, making this one 0.54. That is our decimal they're asking us for.
So then we do ABC.
Listen, they only want it as a decimal though. Now, let me show you one weird thing. You can do this on a calculator if you will watch for just a second. I need 54% to be changed to a fraction or a decimal. So watch. If I type in 54, now my percent key is right here where that percent sign is, but it's in the weird color. So I have to hit my second key and that key to turn it into a percent. Wait a second. Now, hit the second key and that key right there because that percent sign is right above it.
Wait, can you show me how to do it again?
Okay. Now, then we want to change it to a fraction or a decimal. Please watch. Here is the F to D button. Right here above it in blue. So if I hit second and I hit F to D, it's going to change it to fractions and decimals. Look what I get. 27/50ths is the fraction.
How do you do that? 54. How do you do? And how do you get that thing, that fraction thing?
Y'all are cracking me up. Okay, wait.
Alright, got it.
So, here we go. 54% first. 54. Hit the second key and the percent. Has everybody made it that far?
What percent sign?
Percent sign is above the parenthesis. It's in the weird color right above the parenthesis. Right there. Okay. Do you see it?
Where?
Guys. Okay. Once you've typed in 54%, you are trying to change it to a fraction or a decimal. So, to change it to a fraction or a decimal, you can hit right here, the F to D button. You can hit second, and then the F to D button, and it is giving you a fraction. But I got a question. How could we change a fraction to a decimal?
I'm pressing the P or D, the button that says on the calculator.
Did you hit second first?
Are you talking about on the calculator?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Oh, well, how could you change that to a decimal?
press this button right here, like reverse or like.
Ah, I wonder if we could reverse it.
Sure.
I'm so smart! Woohoo! Listen. Here's the key to this. You've got to, number one, I need you to listen and watch. I'm trying to show you some tricks. Listen. Okay, please listen. Basically, you're taking 54%, which is a percent, and we're trying to change it around and make it look like a decimal on a calculator. Okay, please watch for just a second. Can you make it to getting 54, hit the second and the percent sign?
Yes.
Okay, now, once you got to that, you've typed it in your calculator. You've entered your percent. Now you want to hit the F to D button. Which, listen, when you go to hit the F to D button, you got to hit second first. Because F to D is in the weird color. So you got to hit second, F to D, and I want you to look at something. When I hit equals, it gives me the fraction. But here's the key. This worksheet, we weren't looking for the fraction. So what if I hit the second key again and hit the F to D, and let's see if it'll switch it around, and you get 0.54. Now, I need you to understand something. You need to practice with this calculator and see if you can get these answers and be able to move back and forth between percents, decimals, and fractions. Okay? Let's do the next one. 210%. Now, personally, I just bump the decimal over twice, and I make it 2.10. Or you could say 2.1.
And here I got 2.
Okay? Now, right, so let's try this. If I type in 210, I hit the second and the percent sign. Okay? Now, wait a minute. This is just percent. I want to change it to a fraction or a decimal, and I get this weird 2 and 1/10. Listen, that is that. This is just a fraction. This is a decimal. So, I could hit F to D again. If I hit second, F to D again, and look at that. I get the answer.
Alright. Put 2.10, and then press second now.
2.10 is the answer. Listen, there's 2 different ways to do this. 1.
2.10 the question.
Okay, guys. Here is the question. Change a percent, which is what they give you, to a decimal. Really, all you've got to do is move the decimal over twice. But if you want to use a calculator, I was trying to show you the way to use the calculator. Okay? Well, later down the line, the percents you might need a calculator when we're doing taxes and tips and discounts and things like that. Okay? Yes.
All you have to do the number, and then you have to per second, and then that weird number
Uh-huh.
right there,
Mm-hmm.
and then you should just enter the answer.
Okay, and that's what I'm like, listen, this is why I'm begging you to play with these calculators and to get used to them. You gotta know what is a right answer and what is not. Okay? Yes?
Okay, so does it matter how high your number is you just moved to?
Move it 2. And why? We move it only 2 because it is out of 100. That's why. So good question. We bounce it twice because it's out of 100. Now, if there's any empty slots, then we need to fill them in with zeros. Okay? If I was you, when you're doing this worksheet, even if you're bouncing them over twice and getting that answer, practice with the calculator and the F to D button and see if you can get the right answer. Now, tonight's homework, in just a second, I will pass it out. You will be modeling some questions, and then on the back, there are change of percents to decimals and decimals to percents. But listen, it is the same stuff that is on this note sheet I just went over. In fact, we use the same exact directions. So keep this out while you work on your classwork homework. Okay? Thank you. Keep grunting.